Hello geeks and gamers, Matt Lemke here with True Gamer Goggles. Today we're going to do another figure forge. This figure forge is for MERCS Miniatures game line, and it's the ISS starter package. Before we have all the models, we're going to go ahead and start by pushing them off to the side here real quick. This one was an extra model that came with, well, not extra, it's just a gun. It fits so nicely in the base that it needs no glue. I'm bending the base and it's not coming out, so I'm not going to bother gluing that one. We're going to go ahead and start with some of the models that have more than one piece. This model right here, I went ahead and drilled and pinned, so we're going to do that one first. And just to make life easier on all of us, we're going to zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. You can see right here, I used a paper clip to pin it. I already glued it. And basically what you do is you just drill it out a little bit, and then you mess around. You mark it, and then to get a mark on the other half of your model to find out where it'll rest. And you just keep drilling it until you have what is pretty much a flush line. Now I am going to have to epoxy this model a little bit. Oh no, I'm not. I just didn't twist it right. Look at that. She goes like that. Might need to epoxy it a little bit, but it looks pretty good. Maybe even drill it out a little bit more. I don't think I need to drill it out anymore, but, well, for good measure, real quick, we'll go ahead and do that. Basically, all you do is hold your drill, push in a little bit, and turn it. Real tough, right? Maybe it wasn't quite in all the way. That is a better fit all the way around. Still needs a little bit of two-part epoxy maybe. We'll see. Then I'm going to go ahead and drop a dab of glue on this piece. Take some of that off right away. Uh-oh, there it is. With my leftover piece of foam. On a good day, you can hold this model and she'll be dry in 10 seconds. Wow, she was dry in 10 seconds. On a bad day, that doesn't happen, which is most of the time in Ohio. We'll go to this model next, and I'm just going to go right ahead and glue her on her base. If she needs help, nope, she's going to need a little help. There's a lot of different methods you can use for gluing things onto their base. One of them is you can just put them down there and you can put a layer of epoxy over it, pack the base with epoxy. I'm a fan of super glue because I'm lazy. Problem with super glue, like I said, in Ohio, it takes time to dry. And in this case, it's taking too much time. So I'm going to spray the bottom of the base with a zip kicker. I don't normally do this. Because it weakens the glue. But I don't want to spend 2 hours on the video either. I am going to go ahead and do the running dude next. I'm going to glue him on his base. I'm not going to... Yeah, I am going to nip this off. How much does it help? It helps quite a bit. I'm not going to nip that off because I do a lot of traveling. I know if I only played at my house or only played at local game stores instead of going to game conventions, I would certainly lop that off. But that would create a weak point here on the model. This adds a lot of support. So what I'm going to do is when I go and I base this model, I'm going to do something like put some ivy on that or something, or glue bush around it so it looks like he's actually running through bush. That's all. Clean this base out real quick because it had a little bit of overcast in it. And drop some glue on this guy so he can dry, because I find it easier to put my models on the bases first and then work on them when I can hold the base. Even painting I prefer that way. A lot of people like to paint their stuff without it being on the base, and I just can't seem to get around it. Again, we're moving at a pretty good pace. You know, and if you do it kind of in an assembly line order and you clean up your models before you get started, it really doesn't take that long. For me, the biggest thing is gluing, the dry time. That's the biggest thing. And this guy's got a little bit of flashing here that I missed before. I'm good at that today, apparently. Grab the file. Don't want any of that hanging over on the bottom of the base. Make them uneven. Well, even hit here. So, sorry about that. A little too close. But I want you to be able to see when I get to doing this stuff. I'll just have to pay more attention for you. Put some glue on his foot, on the base, and on the back of his foot. Just like that. And that's all of those. So now we can start back at the beginning. Oh wait, we'll go back to the model that we pinned. And we'll put her on her base. File this off with 2. Try not to bend her too much, because she is a little delicate. Boy, she's in there pretty tight. That's what I wanted to avoid. Well, here's a little trick then, if you ever do something like what I just did. You leave her on the base, because you can't get her off. You go like that, and you carefully push it back through while it's lubricated. Now she should dry pretty easily, but to speed it up a little bit for the demonstration, spray a little bit of zip kicker on her. Now I moved so quick through this that I kind of didn't keep the pieces together, but I kind of remember what most of them are. This gentleman has this weapon here, and he goes together like that. But we're not going to move to him first, because there is a model that has quite a few more pieces. Now, I took a little bit of time on this shield because I saw this rough flashing here, and I drilled some bullet holes into it. So now I'm going to take my knife on the side here and just put some scars in it. White metal is pretty soft, so be careful with it. Yeah, I even put a little, I bent it a little bit by doing that. There, you can see it that way. So this guy's seen some combat. Now I'm probably going to have to bend it back to finish putting it together, because I left the pieces to this on the sprue, And I want to show you something real quick about this model. This is probably going to be the toughest challenge of these models, is to put this one together. And if that's true, these models go together pretty easy. This piece here is like a little flange that goes in there. But as you can see, it's not flat. So, you know, you're going to have a lot of glue bonding or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and bend it a little bit, make it flat by putting it against a flat surface and pushing down on it. Hopefully that trick worked. It doesn't always work because that might not be the piece that's really bent, but in this case it seems to have worked fairly well. Now the real trick is going to be holding it here while it dries, because I'm thinking that you're going to want it pretty straight and pretty flush with that line. And that is not going to be the easiest of tasks, but I believe putting this piece together first is going to be the key to making this model easy to go together. And there's a little lump there from the flashing. So I'm just going to take a real quick file off of it. I'm going to go like this, put a little bit of glue on the shield. No matter how much I put on, it's probably going to be too much because it's such a small area. Pretty much have that model where I want it, so I'm going to hit it with a little bit of zip kicker. That was a little bit. And I'm going to set that part aside. I am going to take this part off here. Nip that off. Nip that off. If you want, you can file it. I kind of usually just use a knife, or I would use a round file on it because the round file is round, so you have a lot more control over how much of the model it actually touches. And then I have to check real quick, make sure I grab the right model. I believe it's this guy. Wherever you're going to have his shield, this is his shield arm. There. Yep, that is him. But I am going to set it aside just so I make sure that I'm not making a mistake. And I'm going to go to some of the models that I do know exactly what pieces they are. See, now, if you look at this model, you can. It's a lot firmer than it would be if I cut that piece off where all the weight was supported here at the ankle. So this gentleman has this to contend with, which is kind of tricky to glue on here because it's so small. So we're going to go ahead and put a drop. That's a big drop of glue because, well, my bottles stink. And we're going to try and carefully put another drop on the other side. And I'm going to grab it with my cutters, actually. Well, I'm going to put my cutters there because my pair of tweezers seems to have disappeared. Because I certainly can't hold this piece like this. And he's running like that. And the sooner I can get this one zip kicked, the happier I'll be, because he is truly going to be a challenge. Not a super hard challenge. You know, and if I had the right tools for the job, he'd probably already be done because I would have held him in place with the tweezers. His hand is a little bit off there. Now it's lined up. Now I have to do something I really don't like to do. And that's apply glue after I've assembled the model. So I'm going to put just a little bit in there so it runs in. And that's a done model. A little bit overflow on the glue, but in Ohio I tend to have a lot of problems with my glue. The tips dry off, so I got to cut them off. And I'm cheap, so I don't want to waste. I mean, a Zap-A-Gap bottle this size I think is $4.95 retail. So that's like $3 of glue that I don't want to get rid of. And we'll come to him now and put him together. Now, you can probably, if you're diehard and you tend to drop your models a lot, I would say that you pin him here. I'm going to put a drop of glue in here real quick. And just a tiny touch there so that I can do that. And he's pretty much in place, and I'm going to go like this. Now, I probably should have waited so that I could. Oh, it didn't zip. Not enough zip kicker. I probably should have waited so that I could get in there better with a brush, but I am not too terribly worried about being able to do that. I'm confident that I can do that when I paint. Aha. Oh no. This gentleman here, he has another two-piece model. And he fits rather nicely, just like that. Because he is a two-point model with an actual third point that connects on his chest, I'm going to go ahead and just touch a little bit of glue there. Touch a little bit there, because I don't want him to hit the ground or break apart in transportation like I've had so many other of my models do. That's the shield guy. That's the shield guy. And I call her Victory Chick. Now, I will note that there's a little spot right there that actually kind of fits like a little bitty notch right there for her arm, and that's where she actually fits the best, fits together the best. If you can see that by rolling it around. So what you might want to do is take a file and hit that just a little bit more, ever so gently, and it looks to me like she fits a little bit better, but not so much that it's going to be worth me trying to file that, because I'm not the greatest at filing. If it bothers me after I put a little bit of primer on her, I will hit it with some putty before I paint it. Who knows, maybe my children will paint one of these. They're getting into painting. These models might be a little bit detailed for them, but I'm starting to see that highly detailed models are a little bit easier to paint. And again, as usual when you assemble models, you should always try not to glue your hand to the model, which of late I've been really good at. Victory dance. All right. Oops. I thought I saw a piece of cat hair on my wall. Now we got the guy with the shield. We're going to go ahead and make a decision here. The decision is, do I glue this piece on first, or do I glue the arm on first? And the real question then is, where will the shield end up if I do this way? Shield will end up there. So I want the shield to be a little low. So I'm going to glue the arm on a little bit lower, I think. So we're going to hit that real quick. And I'm actually not going to finish assembling this model today because I'm pretty sure that once I glue the weapon arm on with the shield arm, I'm not going to be able to paint her. Because look here. Look how close that... Oh, I might be able to do that. But I will never be able to spray prime it. So I'm going to actually leave it off for the priming in the paint until I paint it. And then you got her gun arm, or his gun arm in this case. I think I want him to be shooting somebody. So we're going to put it up like he's a bank robber. And since I sprayed on the other side with Zip Kicker, this might dry really quick. Like I said, might dry really quick. Set that aside. And then the last piece, which is the piece I want to talk to you about. This is a really soft piece of pewter, so it's going to bend fairly easily. In doing a lot of traveling, this model will probably break on me, and what I'll end up doing is taking something like my drill here, cutting that off, drilling out her hand, which is really not going to be that easy because it's a small hand, and putting a piece of copper tubing in. And then gluing this onto the tubing. And then it'll be a lot more rigid, but then it'll probably break the hand eventually. So, there is a lot to, and there's a burr there, so I'm going to carefully try and cut that burr off, and then I'm going to hit it with a file. And see how it looks. Now on the box, I would say that's about where the spear arm is. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Put a drop of glue there. Ah! Kablam. And there you have it. The MERCS ISS Miniatures line starter group for the MERCS Miniatures game. mostly assembled. Largely because I really don't think I'll be able to paint this guy if I add the shield. And 26 minutes is not so bad for this. I probably should have been able to do it a little bit better. But I had some glue issues, and there was some stuff that for the cleanup. But if you like what you saw, you like the miniatures, you can always visit www.mercsminis.com. That's Mercs Miniatures website. They recently did a Kickstarter for a game called Myth that looks phenomenal. Hopefully in January we'll be able to get you some information on that. And if you like this video and you're watching it on our blog, feel free to click any of the social media links on the right-hand side to keep in track with what we're doing. Thank you and have a good day.